we're here.
Hello, everyone. As I'm not looking at you, I'm getting ready to share everything. I'm waiting for it to go live on you're going on your page, right?
Yeah, I'm going on my page and I've got Instagram hopping on today too. Sometimes that is a wee bit of a challenge. And when it works, it works. And when it doesn't, I sit back and just kind of go,
Well, you're
that,
live on Exponential Joy, so I'm just going to share it to Intuition of the Soul and
yeah,
Healing.
it's been better this week when it comes to sharing on different platforms for me, which is a nice feeling place. For me, it was because I stopped trying so hard at that. I was focusing on pen and paper and editing. And that's a whole different experience, stepping away from the computer onto the paper. Big. I love the paper and the pen. So that's been super nice. And then the change in the muscular structure. Boy, when you hold a pen, it's a different feeling and a different kind of hurt for me. So
Yeah, because you're
like,
dealing still with all your stuff, right?
well, yeah, because now it's this. And so I couldn't even hold the pen the same way, Kitty. Like I used to hold the pen like and now I'm like it's this half limp in the middle of the fingers feels better. I can't hold it between my thumb and my
There's
gun finger.
a lot of kids haven't been an elementary teacher that's how they start to write. And it's only us that changes it to this.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, because it's
A
soft
lot
and
of
slow.
kids initially writing to build strength write like this.
Okay, and because I don't have the strength in my hand,
Yep.
aha.
Yep. And it's also then you are moving from the wrist versus moving from the fingers.
Okay.
Feel the difference. Go
Interesting.
like this and then hold it like you would normally hold it.
Well, like that hurts, and it hurts all the way down to here.
And then when you go like this, you're moving from the wrist more.
Better. As long as I don't have to hold it in my mouth, it's a good day.
So here's the mood I'm in today. You ready?
Sure.
Here's the witch's broom.
Oh,
And
cool.
I'm going to read this thing. The witch's broom is traditionally a symbol of sweeping away negativity. Out with the old, in with the new. It was created for daily affirmation, this was, for positive gratitude and abundance. The broom is a little gift to go happy-go-lucky energy around you. It was from Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
So
So just cleaning up the shit you don't need in your life anymore.
I would say something, but I try not to.
But yeah, no, but just sweeping it out, right? Like sweeping it out. I know when I'm in my fifth wheel, I've got very small amount of floor space. So it's
Yeah.
easy for me to just quickly go whoosh, 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 open the door and swoosh.
Yep.
When I'm in this home, I have more floor space. And more floor space means the
There you
potential.
go. You corrected it.
Yeah.
Push those teeth back in. Yeah. It's very early where Indiana is. It's only 7:00 in the morning. She hasn't had her coffee.
Yeah, it's been an early one. And that floor space is easy to handle. There's not much to do. In my home where I live, there's more space, more energy, more memories, more of so many things, and the potential for more situational problems. Last week, my dishwasher was not behaving well. So I had some water that landed on the floor, pissed me off. And we've got crappy laminate flooring. And the reason I say crappy laminate flooring is if you get a puddle on laminate flooring, and not only you have to wipe it up, you have to put a fan on, you have to and you can't get under there to soak up that water. So now we've got one tile that's lifted more than the others. And I want all that laminate flooring to go away. And I want vinyl planking. I love vinyl planking. Oh my God. And when I say that, my guy Ralph sees that differently because he feels the strain of, I gotta take the flooring off. I gotta go buy new flooring. I gotta. And I'm like, no, I'll manifest that. Then that eye roll thing happens. He rolls his eyes
I
because he
don't know
doesn't
how
understand.
well, and I don't know how Ralph is, but I get an eye roll sometimes when I am bringing up something they just don't want to deal with.
Well, and that's at the eye roll. Yeah, but for me, yeah, but and yeah, but and yeah, but and it's kind of like the Flintstones. My eye rolling, man, I mastered that in like elementary. No, I didn't eye roll in elementary. It didn't begin until the testosterone and progesterone and estrogen increased in my adolescence, and then enter eye roll.
Yeah, eye roll to me, when I eye roll, it's there's an internal word, please. Like,
Mhm.
like what you're saying is kind of cray cray.
Oh my God. Like really, right? Mom, you're ruining my life.
Yeah.
I can't
I don't
believe.
want it. And because that's it, I don't want to deal. And that's what his eye roll is, I don't want to deal with what you're saying, what you're thinking about, what you're.
Well,
Um,
and even in that word deal, a card laid is a card played. My uncle taught me that. And then a dear friend of mine, Keith, taught me that because he was an exceptional poker player. And what I mean by exceptional is he could sit for hours and not play a hand. He'd read the paper
mhm.
while everybody else was doing their thing. And this is late night poker, professional poker, late night poker that would go into early morning and everyone's getting tired, right? And Keith pulls his paper out. And then they start making bets because they're playing the cards when they're tired, they're irritated, they just want to get out of there and win, right? So he waited till a few people laid down all their money, the gambler, and then he'd fold up his paper methodically and slide it under his table and begin to play. He was so good, and he couldn't go to America because of the stupid governmental rule. He was a bookmaker. So a bookmaking in Canada, illegal at that time. Now, thank you to Bet 360, 365, 248,124 days of the year, it's normal and natural. At that time, even though you could be a bookmaker in America, he couldn't go from Canada to America because he was charged with bookmaking. Ugh, eye roll. It didn't make sense. So that eye rolling is when something doesn't make sense to another person. So
Right.
how do
And
we
it
know?
doesn't mean that they're right either. You know,
No,
sometimes eye
no.
rolling is avoiding
Oh,
exactly what somebody else, the truth. Yeah. Certainly is
absolutely.
for me.
Oh,
Like,
I suggested in my my group accountability, my kick-ass group accountability, I suggested, well, I said that I'm considering getting hockey gloves so that in that moment when I need to clearly identify to someone in my life, whether that's Ralph or somebody else, that this is a gloves off moment, I can literally drop my gloves, put in my mouth guard, let's go. Let's confront this situation. Let's go balls deep into the water of life. Instead of like lifting up and walking on your tiptoes when the water gets cold and wavy. Ooh, I can't let it touch me. Oh, get in. Dive under. Deal with it.
so when you're in that uh, place to dive under, what are the rules?
Shut your mouth.
There's a rule. I sent you that that picture, remember?
Yes.
Um, that said, I'm going to start meditating before my mouth starts going,
Mm-hmm.
because that is
Shut
the
your mouth. Keep
the
your eyes
issue.
open.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes open. Take a deep breath too before you shut your mouth because you need to like
Well, that's kind of what you do when you go under the cold. You walk up to here, and you know that for some reason, this particular area of the body, once it goes from the waist to here, and you go under. So,
And I was taught that when I take that deep breath and hold it, not hold it, when I take that deep breath and allow it to slowly come out, if I, like this is scuba diving, when I take a deep breath in and hold, slowly letting go, singing happy birthday to you, happy birthday, just slowly letting that air out. It's really cool how long I can last. Yeah. And then, because sometimes when you're down deep and you don't have any more oxygen, you look at your gauge and you're like, oh shit. And you've got to go up. You need to conserve that breath and allow it so that you can ascend to the top. Take a deep breath, then hopefully you don't need to go into a tank, decompression chamber, right? Like keeping an eye on that levels. What are your levels? Are you at that point whereby you need to shut your mouth, go for a walk, go for a swim, go for a dive? And shutting your mouth too often isn't helpful either.
no, no.
Lack of communication is one of the biggest problems that we have, I believe, right now. Lack of communication. Mhm.
Well, and some of that is there is communication, and then there is words that are defensive, that um, go at the heart of communicating. That's what I
Mm.
mean by the rules. Because if you are a person that loses it and screams and says ridiculous things and jumps down the conspiracy network
Sure.
of, as a person who is not that person, I really want to say F you. Like, here I'm sitting trying to figure out trying to communicate,
Mhm.
trying to listen, and being bombarded with horseshit, you
Oh,
know?
Kitty, there is so much information out there right now, and it's constant. It jumps up on my feed. I read Revolution and Recovery by Russell Brand, Brand.
Oh, I know
Um,
who he is.
UK
He's an
fella.
actor. He's very interesting man,
He's
Russell
very
Brand.
interesting, very, very interesting, and I love his voice. I love the way he moves when he speaks. I'm always intrigued by the information that he gives, and sometimes, like for the last year, I haven't listened to what he has to say because though he has great information, if I'm constantly bombarded with the potential for harm, I mean, I know that there is a structure of people out there who are terrible human beings, who are doing terrible things and creating tyranny and more tyranny. I mean, yuck. The idea of a 15-minute city, good luck, Chuck. It ain't
A
happening.
what?
Oh, a 15-minute city, that's what they have been working towards creating in many places here in Canada. For example, in Alberta, in Edmonton, right now it's becoming, I saw my first fall leaves outside. So by October, it is cold. Kids have to wear snowsuits underneath their Halloween costumes. You go to
No.
school beginning of September and you can see your breath. So riding a bicycle is no longer a comfortable feeling. And then you don't get to comfortably ride your bike again until May. So May, June, July, August, 4 months. And they have started creating bike lanes in downtown Edmonton as though we were in LA because we're going for this green outlook. It's cold, kitty. And they shovel the bike lanes before the roadways because the cyclists need to be safe. And they're creating small pockets where you don't need to go more than 15 minutes to get what you want. Well, my mother is 45 minutes away. You ain't stopping me, and I'm not paying a toll to cross border crossings, because that's a lot of the structure that they're potentially creating. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole of conspiracy, you can be quite bitchy, pissy, angry, whatever words you want to use about the potential for that. If I spend my time, space, and energy there, I miss out on the opportunity that,
Well, and that's the world you create then.
yes,
That,
yes.
that human beings, having been an educator for many years, one of the things you certainly learn in education is pendulum swing. And sometimes we go too far this way and it resets. It's a pendulum, until it's kind of in the middle. And spending the time in the conspiracy theory, all that stuff, you keep it swung. You keep the energy in the swing versus in the balance,
Mhm. Well, and
And
there's awful things happening in the world. Awful. I mean, there is so much happening here in my country of Canada. I mean, there's 4 fellows that are incarcerated in 4 separate jails. They have been for way over a year. It could almost be 2. They haven't been released. It's like, what? Coots guys are still there? Yep. We've got to do something. Continue to speak about it, bring awareness to it, and then work on the situations in your own community. That's why I'm part of the recovery movement. That's why I'm
right.
part of
It's
mission. What can we do here?
as much as they laughed in the 90s, it is think globally and act locally.
Yes.
And stop spinning in, here we are sitting in, there's nothing wrong with media. It's how you consume it. It's like any addiction, how you consume it, the discernment that you use, the energy that you use. And again, I go back to the question, the rules in communication. I happen to be dealing in a country right now where there's a whole group of people who, they say, they tell it like it is. Well, so does my drunk uncle at Thanksgiving from his perspective. Telling it like it is does not give you some pass to
No.
be rude and crude and make fun of people and do all of those things.
Out of control, out of control. And I see it on posts on Facebook with people that are very stern and strong about their beliefs. It's a belief. Like a belief. Where does a belief come from? A belief comes from an opinion. Many people have opinions, doesn't mean that they're correct. Do your research. Like actually, have you experienced that person? Have you spent time in a room with that person? Or are you looking at the media of that person?
Well, and then there are those people who continually say these ridiculous things to that media. It's one thing when you have a little bit, and it's one thing when this has been the character all the way along.
Yes.
And so, but it's not my job to go and, campaign against them. It's my job to go, ew, no thanks. That's not the communication I want.
And that's where you get that gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You feel it in your gut. You feel it in your heart. It makes your head hurt, or you stutter when you go to speak because you're so like, right? It becomes right stuck in here.
Well, it's the difference between, again, what you're saying about opinion. I really love Byron Katie. Do you know that to be true? Do you really know that to be true? And after a while, when you hear it over and over, and then you hear the opposite come out of somebody, you go, okay, well, I don't know who they are. What I do know is I have no interest in having them be around, or this energy that is around. And again, this communication, I can have a difference of opinion with you. How I share that difference of opinion and respect the fact that you are another human being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a personal, Um, and there are times, especially in the political world, where it is personal because it becomes about your body, your ability to do something.
Yes.
And
It becomes an attack on perhaps what you have seen as your sovereign right, your freedom. And once we start talking about sovereign rights and freedoms, that's where my body, my choice, my world, my opportunity to travel freely wherever I choose, as long as I have a valid passport and enough money to get there and back. These are the things that are worth discussing. And
I like the
again,
word discussing. Yes,
discussing.
discussing.
Yeah,
Right.
discussing.
And do I always know the fuller story? Absolutely not.
Oh my gosh, Kitty. I remember for the first time I traveled after all of the travel restrictions because of the lockdowns and the quarantines and whatnot. I was in Mexico when the NBA shut down, which was right around the same time when a lot of the quarantines, etc., began. And I came home to a shortage within 1 week, a shortage of everything: toilet paper, meat, the things that people hoarded in an insane behavior. Fear, like complete fear. Then, when we went traveling 3 years later, because we couldn't travel for 2 years because of restrictions and conditions and all that crap. Then, when I went to travel and I went through the borders, I'm like, this isn't what people told me it was like. I traveled with ease,
Yeah, I did
complete
too.
ease. There
I
was
did too.
no question about a travel, like, because at one time we had to have travel passes to
Yes, you
prove.
had to have your shot records, depending what countries
Yeah,
you were going to. Yeah, all of those
yeah,
things. Yeah.
and they didn't ask for any of that when I was traveling, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
No. I remember the first time we traveled through, so it was 2023. We traveled through Canada
yeah,
because we couldn't go for a couple of years. Um, and again, it's a conversation about what happened. The toilet paper is a great example. We have this scenario about that people were hoarding, and yes, there were people hoarding. I'm not going to, but also what happened supply wise was it's. I read some really interesting stories about why certain shortages happen because they're so toilet paper is made in the smaller
yep,
containers and in the big rolls. And the
yes,
big rolls are actually over 50% of what is produced because it's public bathrooms, public restaurants, all of those public places. So why there was a shortage was the demand for I think it's almost 60% fell off
yes,
as people weren't traveling. And so that
yes,
same demand, it wasn't that people didn't need toilet paper, now shifted and they had to retool. That's why it took 3 or 4 months to retool the machines, to make enough toilet paper, to get it out to the shelves. And then by then, some of the travel restrictions had lightened up. And so toilet paper now was being produced in the bigger rolls. You know, the whole conspiracy um, um, thing was, and people are trying to understand something from a snapshot in time. And what do we need is we need the time away from it to let it unroll. And so there were definitely people that were hoarding. I'm not going to say there weren't. And it wasn't just about people buying everything. There literally wasn't a supply to get to people because it was sitting in warehouses in giant rolls. Honest to God, if they probably had put the giant rolls on the thing, people would have bought it and figured it out in their
oh my gosh,
homes.
right? You know
Yeah.
what? I lived on a farm where we had an outhouse, and I was a weekend farm kid, and in the outhouse there was toilet paper, and if there wasn't toilet paper, there was a box full of those really nice green wrappers for oranges, and that's what I wiped my butt with. I didn't have that, Well, I didn't wipe. I mean, they always said I could use leaves. I never used leaves. I've never been a leaf wiper. I choose what kind of discomfort I want in my life. And right, but I mean, there's face cloths, they're reusable. I mean, there's so many options in life. What matters to me is
I
the
like Sue.
choice,
Yeah, I remember the Sears catalog, right?
right? The catalogs. I loved looking through the catalogs when I was a kid. I did vision boards long before there was the vision board
Oh
concept.
yeah, I used to go through. I'd like that. I'd like that. Yeah.
Oh, and when you focus on what you want more of, the universe brings it into your way of being.
Right.
If you don't know what you want, then you just get by default. And then you're pissed off because you get by default. Well, whose fault is the fault? The fault is your fault.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, this is that we're going back to that whole idea about communication. And, last night I just had to pull completely in, not communicate with anybody, just did not feel great, did not. And it was like, again, but part of that had to do with what had happened to me in the day, where somebody just, and I'm like, what do you do when people literally are pouring shit on you? And because of their own, in retrospect, I should have just gone. And
It depends upon where your set point is, though, Kitty. And there's so many things that go on in our days that it's that match moment, right? Where you may already have a little smoldering, and then someone pours gasoline near it, and you start to it just comes at you. So keeping that set point in a place of peace and calm is important, and it takes years to diffuse a set point that's bent out of shape. You don't just get to go from this to this because you say, I'm going to start meditating. If you're already angry, you have to work on meditation.
right.
Takes time.
Well, the difference is you have to acknowledge that it needs work.
Oh God, yeah.
And when you meet people who, things like, well, my back hurt, but none of this I care about. You don't get to just all over people because your back hurts, because these are all reasons why you might be irritated. These are all reasons I understand. And it's a decision to go, and I still have to realize other people, to me, it's amazing the things that people will blah out of their mouth, and then not like, it's not that things don't come out of mouths, but as soon as they're out, you evaluate them. You don't just keep going because that's the way, like, no. Like,
I remember probably about 6 months ago, Ralph and I got into a big tiff. I can't even remember what it's about. And I was planning a trip the next week. I was leaving for a couple of days. And I went into my bedroom and I continued packing my things into my bag. And I packed another bag. I was just getting ready as though I was leaving the next day, even though I was leaving a week from now. And it wasn't a passive aggressive. It was none of that. I was just packing my bag. I'm like, I'm going to leave this shit show. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to start packing, because I started visioning all the wonderful things I was going to do when I was there and everything else. And then Ralph came in the bedroom. He's like, you leaving? I'm like, next week. Where are you going? The trip? What trip? And then I had to re-explain. I already explained several times. And in that moment, I was just like, wow, there's a gap here. There's a gap. And I needed to really allow him to be where he was at and let him feel a little bit uncomfortable because he was like afraid that I was leaving. Like he was a little bit shocked. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I ain't leaving this situation. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. I ain't talking now. So you can leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I had to really pull myself down. And that takes serious, serious effort. Like Sue said, right? Big
Yes.
difference. Barfing in or crap on another and I mean, we have to find a way to say it without spewing it.
Well, and even when you say it without spewing it, it really is about your intention, because the other person still may hear spew or take one little sentence. Because to me, people that don't, okay, I'm not going to say that as a universal statement. I have witnessed that there are, when someone is already as a barfer of their inner crap, then they're going to take what you're trying to do with discernment and think about and pick some sentence and run away with it in a conspiracy theory, in something else. And so being able to hold the center of yourself, say what you need to say, and then for me, I'm learning to then walk away. The harder part for me is I hold the energy. They're fine. Like they seem to be fine because they haven't made a commitment to improve on that stuff. This is just the way they are, you know.
Oh, that's just a cop out.
Right.
Oh, old dog
Right.
can't change an old dog. That's just the way I am. Well, you can just be that way alone for a few days because I'm going to the travel lodge. Do you have a travel lodge? What's your hotel that you have nearby?
I live nowhere near anything. The camper. The camper is my hotel nearby. Yeah. There's a 1-bedroom cabin and the camper. And that would be what I could retreat to. And yeah, it is, and not everybody, that's their journey. And that's been hard for me to understand. That has been in my face this week. This is not everybody's journey. Not everybody has the same rules. Not everybody has the information that comes forward. You know, some people's idea of loyalty is different than yours. Some people are very surface and, you know, everything's going to be okay. Well, that's between you and them. And, which sometimes doesn't feel like people, they don't have your back. There's all kinds of this.
And it's been a challenge. I'm not sure how the energies astrologically are with this because we're in a new moon, correct?
No, full moon we just went by in Aquarius. It was a full moon. And I don't know, your Scorpion placements right now are getting their butts kicked. So you take a look at where that is. And I just think it's because of Pluto is getting ready to dip back into Capricorn. And of course, Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So there's a transformational piece. It dips back in on September 1st, the same day that Uranus, depending, today it's Uranus, is, here we go. Let's sweep some stuff away again. I'm sweeping. Let's just sweeping. Yeah, today is on September 1st also Uranus goes retrograde, which will put Uranus retrograde, Neptune retrograde, Pluto, all of those outer energies retrograde. And then in October, Jupiter goes retrograde, and for 3 days, Jupiter, the planet of expansion, and in Gemini, the experience of expansion, how I'm going to communicate, joins those outer planets for 3 days retrograde, and then Pluto goes direct. And Pluto is
my memoir comes out, Kitty.
What?
8, 9, 10 of October, correct?
Well, yeah, in the States we would say 9, 8, 10 because we put the month first. So it would be 10.
I meant the dates. October 8th, October 9th, October 10th.
Oh,
So
I'm
the
going to
9th
double
is
check.
the 9th is the day that my memoir comes out. The 8th is the day that the pre-release is going to be like, hey,
And
everybody.
I think that is the
And,
3 days that
on
they're
the
also,
10th, I get to say happy birthday to me. No. Yes.
I
October
think those
9th.
are the 3 days that
Let's
they
speak about the
are.
10th. Ugh.
Yes, it starts the 9th, the 10th, the 11th is the 3 days that all of them are retrograde.
Yeah. So, I mean,
And
big expansion for me. And, when we think about where we are now on this day, August 21st, 2024, if you stay in the space that you're in right now and you do nothing to change, are you going to be happy in that space next year?
I mean, in this very moment,
Yep.
no. I
Right.
will move through this space. Right?
Groundhog Day over and over and over again because, well, that's just the way I am.
Yeah, no, I don't have never lived that way. There has always been a part of me, even before awakening, that was always looking for the best version of how I could respond.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now learning or paying attention to, are the people in my life like that? And kind of the ones that are not, I'm looking at going, it's not a oh well I'm better than you. That's not what I want. I don't want to be blad all over because you're upset. So what?
Yeah.
I'm still in the room. If you can't at least acknowledge who I am in that moment, you don't get a free pass with me. Those are gone now.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely gone. You don't have to put me ahead of you. I'm not asking that, but at least the acknowledgement of and that's where I am about the politics in my country right now, it's not even just politics, it's the way people react right now. You don't get a free pass just because you're mad, just because, you still in that moment have to try or, be in touch with the higher version of you in this moment. What is, I'm being creative. I'm all of these things. And I'm also,
right. I am. And I am being.
Right.
You are
And
being a jerk right now is what
right.
you are being.
Right? And, my job isn't to figure out what you're being at all. My job is to be the best version of me and have that expectation of you in that moment. No, you don't get to do that. No, you don't get to just because. No, because I'm also treating you as a human being. And if you're not going to afford me that same piece of information, then this isn't a conversation. This isn't communication. That's my rule. I'm realizing as it's coming out of my mouth up front.
And when the triggers are there, when you're activated,
Right.
more to the activation than what's going on in the moment. Spend time digging deep into that trauma. Spend time digging deep. It's such a beautiful experience. Yeah, it's a little bit messy. Bring a journal with you. Bring a box of Kleenex with you if you need to.
A friend and a flashlight.
A friend and a flashlight. I was talking in my accountability group about that. And in the last month, Kitty, I've had so many people say to me, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, oh. So I sat with it. And for me, there was a moment of, what do you mean you don't know how? Pick up a journal and a pen. And then I realized that it's not that simple.
For some people, it's not.
And so I put up my hand and wrote it down on my paper. Nancy, the workshop, the journaling with purpose workshop, all of those skills that you've got from working through 20 years of shit. Oh, yeah, I actually started that project. Great. Now I have an opportunity to finish it and help other people. If you're not willing to take help and reach out for help, you're going to get left behind in this wonderful world of constant transformation.
I like what Sue said too. When someone says that's just the way I am, that's a total disregard for others, their feelings, and who the person is. You know, if there's no qualifier on that's just the way I am, I lose my temper, I'm working on it, something else to look at. Like I said, for those people who say, well, they just tell it like it is. Well, so does somebody on major drugs, just spewing stuff that is completely
Mm.
disassociated from, you know, one of the things that I thought was an interesting evolution in language was, and that starts back up next month too, words of wisdom,
Good.
um, and is the saying, I'm just saying, like somehow that neutralized, you are responsible for what you say. Just saying does not make it be does not neutralize the vile things that might have just come out of your mouth in an attack. If you are just saying how you are feeling, that's one thing. But when you're, I'm just saying that really looks ugly on you. No, you're not just saying that. You are attacking. That's not a just saying. Just saying is, I'm not a big fan of that color. That's very different. That's
Yeah,
a hard color to wear.
I think of just, and then I think of justice, and I
Mm-hmm.
think of saying things in a way that are where you equally compare two sides of the situation and then make a decision and speak on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Just saying is such a way of letting go of any kind of responsibility. Well, I'm just saying that. Well, yes, and words have consequences. They are spells. So what? So just saying what? And I
Oh,
realize people, when they lose their temper, sometimes I actually don't understand this. It's not a characteristic of mine. And that's not to say good, bad, or indifferent. It is not a characteristic of mine just to go bleh at people. I'm always running through in my head what is coming out of my mouth,
mhm,
you know.
very
And
important.
even when I do that, it can be misunderstood. Again, somebody who's not willing to look at their own piece of it will take what you do with discernment and pick a phrase and turn it into gaslight with it, do whatever they want to do with it. That's what they're going to do.
Mhm.
That's who they are. And until they make a decision to pay attention to that and acknowledge that they do that.
100%. A parent that's just saying you're stupid. A parent that's saying you're fat, you're ugly. Parent that's just saying that all the time? Really? What is that creating? Again, words have spells.
Words are spells, right? I
And,
mean, I
and
remember saying to someone, please feel free not to share your opinion with me.
mhm.
And I suppose that's quite rude. And it was about that they were telling me about a relative of mine, how I should be dealing with them. And I said, with all due respect, and I will give you respect, you are welcome to your opinion on how you want to deal with this person. Please feel free not to share that opinion with me. I will own the responsibility of my own communication with this person.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Didn't
yes.
go over well, by the way. Didn't go over
And
well.
and when we do our best to clearly articulate and deliver our truth, the fact of our experience. I know I was saying to somebody just last week, I can understand how you would see my mother's neurological forgetfulness as mere forgetting and highlight her wonderful ability to remember things from the past. Like my mom is like the crypt from the things that she can remember from the past. And in experiencing her regularly, every week, sometimes twice a week, unable to remember that she didn't press her button for assistance repeatedly, and then attempting to stand and walk when she is not able to effectively transfer. It's more than just a little bit of forgetfulness. It's been
Right.
diagnosed by the doctor as Alzheimer's. Well, that's not what the nurse told me. I wonder what nurse that was. And perhaps
Right.
she didn't feel that it was quantifiable to discuss with you the details
Well,
of
and
there's medical.
and what do they get right? What, that is okay. Because in a right,
Sometimes it's hard. We don't want to hear those words. We don't want
right.
to hear the words Alzheimer's or dementia. We don't want to hear the words terminal. We
Hmm.
don't like those diagnoses that show us something in life that we don't want.
Yeah.
And yet it's again the reflection of what that is. What is Alzheimer's? What is dementia? It's cognitive. So what can I do to share the experience now with my mom and make it the best possible experience? I love doing that with her. I love coming in to my mom's room or any elder's room that I'm working with using unconditional positive regard. I will always be nice to you when I come into the room. And I do not know what the room is going to be like. I don't know what your physical health is going to be like. I don't know what your emotional health is going to be like. I may walk in thinking it's going to be a grand day. Oh my gosh, I brought puzzles and whoa.
I
Oh,
have to
what's
read
that?
I then have to read the room differently. Yeah.
Yeah, whoa, 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 whoa. We got a problem. Where are you in bed? It's 11 a.m. Are you not feeling well? Right? Like changing according to the situation. I still come onto it looking for a great future.
Well, and that really is the kind of the crux of it. You walk into the room with, since I don't know what's going to happen, I'm going to react, create the reality I want. Hello, open that door for that energy.
Mhm.
And if that's not what happens, but if you walk around saying the world's crazy, there are all of these things out here, that is what you're going in with your persona. Are there things that are weird? Yeah, they just are. It doesn't mean I'm encountering them in this room. Again, those people that continually run into that, you have to wonder, what energy did you call forth this morning to step into? The last thing I try to say before I get up is, I am that I am, and that's enough.
Mhm.
Just,
Yes.
um, and assuming, and I don't like the word assume because that's that ass out of you and me thing. Um,
Mm.
and though it really is, I live from a place where I think most people are kind. I think most people are willing to learn these things, not necessarily to the level I'm working on it. That's okay. You do you, boo. Um,
Mhm.
and I have to own things. I had something happen to me earlier this week where it really wasn't about the people that I encountered this image with. It was really about my reaction of not wanting to deal with this history. And I have to own
Oh,
that.
right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I had to. I didn't have to. I chose to hide a real nasty comment. I'm grateful I woke up early in the morning to be like, hide. That was nasty, like just wow. Um, I am honestly happy. I am honestly filled with joy. Yes, I have moments in time. If you look back on my, um, oh my goodness, spirit's showing me my crime sheet, my rap sheet of life. Yes, I've had moments when I was angry and frustrated. Call me a witch, call me a bitch, call me whatever. And I've changed that, right? I've changed that way of being. I am authentic and I work very diligently to with my witch bitch, with my witch stick, blah, blah, blah. Which one? WHICH if it makes me more comfortable. Clear away the negative energies. I'm very faith filled.
Well, and you're not talking about toxic positivity either. You know,
No.
there
No.
is a difference.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what I encountered this week. Is everything is smiley and beautiful, and it's like there was a lot of pain around the image for me, and but
Mm.
I own that. Like it, I own it. That is my reaction to it. So what do? I hide it. I hide, and I go until I'm ready. My reaction to be activated was one I wish I didn't have. And like you said, look at the trauma that's under the reaction. Look at the healing needed under the reaction. I had a good friend, she actually I think is watching, who said, just don't let that in. And she's right. And I have to figure out if it comes out when I see it, then what ways can I move it on until when I see that I won't react to it. There was something
Yeah.
in the reaction to learn. So,
It's so interesting because when when we're working our physical muscles, that's become much more um, easy because we've been learning different concepts of strength training and whatnot. When we're working our emotional energies, sometimes it's a matter of getting really creative. I watched a scary movie this week, and if you know me, you know I don't do scary movies. And Kevin Costner was in it. Okay. I love Kevin Costner. So in my mind, it couldn't have been that scary because Kevin Costner's in it. Oh my God. Right. And
wrong. Yeah.
so I'm like, I went to the bathroom and Ralph's like, I'll pause it till you get back. I don't want you to miss anything. Cause he was like, yeah, babe, why do you want to watch this? I'm like, it's not going to be that scary. And I made it through it. It really wasn't that scary. I mean, it was terrifying. And there was this alien dude that there's a whole bunch of them when they were eating people and right. And then at the end, Kevin Costner with his daughter fried these guys, right? Excellent. And then the little boy was left and he's watching this, not again, horror movie. He's watching this horrific action. And then you see this little guy jump out of the corner and he's up on the house behind him. And Ralph's like, see, there's gonna be a part two. And I'm like, there's always a part two.
Yeah.
There's always a part two. There's always going to be another monster jumping out of the cave, climbing into your life. It's a character that gives you an opportunity to grow.
Mm-hmm. And it is. I like Sue said when someone's says that's just a no. A man tried to cut me off in traffic and then bitch, and I replied, "Thank you, I know," and gave me a big smile. Again, when I can react like that, I love being able to go, "You do you." Um, the issue in my life has been to try and not to talk to like beat at myself around the reaction, like the reaction around what I saw this week. Um, and I've learned find friends and flashlights to go down that well that you've just jumped into.
And a
And
sense of humor. Friends, flashlights, and a sense of humor. Do
right,
what you need to do to raise your vibration.
right. And first it might be I'm going down the well. F them and
Yes.
blah, 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 and but
Go. Go.
with people who rather than at them with people who, and that we bring the laughter around it, we bring the enlightenment, yeah, I'm activated by this. And, my response, I wish this wasn't my response, but it was. So let me then really look at what's under this response. The next words of wisdom we're going to do is going to be around the word healing. And I don't know if you had a chance, and I recommend anybody to watch it on IOTS. It's on YouTube. Donna Campbell came on and she wrote The Abundant Soul. She's the book that we're going to do as a book group. And of course, I want to invite you, Nance, to join us because we're going to do your book then.
Oh my God, I have book group? Book group?
Yeah. Book group. Book group.
Oh my God. The Abundant Soul.
The Abundant Soul. I'm actually rereading it. So it's by my bed. It's about financial success and soul growth. And, she actually has, and there are things that she did. Anyway, we were talking about, she is called the Mind Whisperer. She really works with thoughts and all these things. And she was a financial planner 20 years ago in charge of big accounts. And things happened in her life that had her looking at, I'm reading also The Heroine's Journey, by the way. I always have at least 2 books going. So she said something about how she works with the thoughts that are under, the healing is under the thoughts that come through in your mind. And I said, so what is healing to you? And it's a wonderful question to ask people. Some people think it's making it better. Some people think it's being able to deal with what's coming up. It's a very interesting concept. And when you are working with people, it's a really good question to ask. What do you see as healing? Do you see healing as something's broken and you're fixing it? Do you see healing as you're incorporating the energy and looking at, again, the energy that's under it? So we have, it's a really interesting discussion if you have a chance to watch it. And it's really had me thinking about, what do I see as healing? And it changes in different things. I think you'll like this book. It's the first of a trilogy. Does that sound familiar, Nance? Yeah.
Trilogy. I know. And it's so much, the author's experience, the writer's experience. It's like many things. I was watching a lady who had the blessing and privilege of being a part of an obstacle event called Mudders. I think it's Mudders. You climb in the mud obstacle course. I've been wanting to do it for years, Kitty, and I can't, right? I am not, my doctor is like, sometimes I ask these things. No. Just asking, right? Like, I want you to understand that this is what I want to do next year. And he's like, we'll talk next year.
We'll talk next year, right?
And it's climbing along in the mud. And it's not just climbing in the mud, it's carrying heavy things. Right. I can do it now, and yet I can set my mind. Where do I want to be a year from now?
Right. Therein becomes the goal. Again, I will hope that I'm less distracted by other things and images versus where my goals are. And you know what, we're already at an out, and I have a hard stop because I've got another thing. So this has been really a very cool.
This has been so much fun. What a great way to show and tell the wisdom of our lives and how we're still in the muck of it.
Well, and this astrologically right now, we are practicing these things. These things are coming to us this month to get practice with. How am I going to respond? How am I going to move forward? And as Joanne just said, as the sun enters Libra, it's a great time to create agreement for healing and going within. So this Leo has been about, how am I responding? How am I looking? As we enter into the sun is going to go to Virgo first. Before we head to Libra. And that's going to be a lot of the little pieces we're putting together. And she's exactly right when we come to Libra. Okay, I practiced my response. Now I have these little things going forward. And with all of these bigger energies retrograde and Pluto going to the 29th degree of Capricorn. And what that means for people is It will not, again, dip into Capricorn for 246 years after this period. And it's at the 29th degree, which is karmic reset of our structures. Karmic reset of, we are completely looking at it differently. So we've had this chance to respond this month. Now we can really put into action how we are restructuring as we get ready again, once it goes direct and goes back into, for the next 20 years, 30 years, into the vision of who we are, how we think, how we move forward with this energy. So it's a time coming up right now.
Spirit showed me one last thing, and that was the Jack in the box. So you are Jack. You are Jack, right? What you have in your box is what's going to come out to be shown. So it's your box. It's in your box. If it comes out to be shown, it's an opportunity for healing.
Right.
If you keep on stuffing it back in, it's just going to wait for you like Johnny. Here's Johnny. So it's up to you. What kind of a dream do you want to create? A horror movie or a happy ending?
Yeah, I'm going for happy endings. And on that note,
Me too. Namaste.
Namaste, everyone.
Have a great day. See you next week.
See you next week.